genuinely thought that Lucas was my age, mid-30s. I was going to say our age, but Mike is actually 41, 2.
So Mike's birthday is every 14 months.
It's actually my mum used to tell me, I remember at one point, goes up, when I was growing up, I said, my mum's 22. And at school, I remember just as a child, I must have been like 10 or whatever it was, or 8, and the teachers were like, wow, how's your mum so young? Really interesting. And mum was just in her 40s, just lying all the time. Eventually what happened was I eventually caught up with her age. So she stayed the same age.
Just stayed like
the same age. I kept getting older and she stayed the same age. It was great. But you just went to the hyperbaric chamber today, right?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Second session. I've just been doing a lot of research on anything that can sort of enhance like oxygenation in the body. Because I've been playing around with a few different compounds. One of them in particular, ITPP, which is used heavily in like horse racing. For the horses. The horses, yeah. Don't worry about the jockeys.
They don't need it. They just need balance.
All they do is...
True.
Yeah, but I love, as you know, I love experimenting, trialing. When I research things, I love to like experiment at the same time. I feel like experientially, I get a feel for what I'm researching as well.
Of course.
That's part of my process. But after the first session, he only put on like 1.1 ATA, which is like the very low setting.
Is that atmospheres, you mean?
Yeah, so it's like how much oxygen they condense, like the pressure of oxygen in the sort of in the chamber. The next day I sort of woke up with a little bit more energy and I'm like, I think there's something to this. Like I feel like sort of recovered a little bit better, and just been going down a rabbit hole. So like as I'm researching, I'm also jumping in it and I'm researching.
And what's the benefits to it? I mean, so for an athlete and for an average person, what were the benefits?
Yeah, I'd say like the main ones would be accelerated like recovery post-workout. Increasing like wound healing. I was doing some research this morning on how it affects like specifically like blood sugar levels and insulin sensitivity in non-diabetics. Mm-hmm. So specifically looking at like non-diabetic subjects. And there was a pretty dramatic improvement in like insulin sensitivity, which is what you'd see with like metformin. Like it's almost comparable to metformin in some ways, without obviously like the GI.
But something you talk about a lot, but berberine, right?
Yeah. Or the
berberine,
dihydroberberine.
Have you found using that? Because I know it's something you not advocate, but like yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've worn the CGM, like the glucose monitor, just to play around to see what can actually move the needle. And just, because my dad's actually a type 2 diabetic.
Right, okay.
Even though he's actually very lean and
what interesting.
Yeah,
so
he's
he really
not,
has a problem with his
yeah.
Okay.
He trains quite a lot and he's, moving quite a lot, but I think his biggest drawback was in his mid 30s to late 40s, he just didn't build enough muscle. So he just didn't have enough muscle mass. And as he's aged, sarcopenia kicks in and, you lose that muscle mass.
It's doing it when you're young, right? That's the thing. I think that guy, Dr. James Nicol, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Nicol.
Yeah, his stuff's great. What he puts up on short snippets on Instagram, but what he puts up is, you have to start looking after yourself in your 20s and yourself in your 30s. What you do in your 30s will affect your 40s.
Exactly.
Just like that with your dad.
Yeah, one of his posts is like, don't blame butter for what the canola oil did.
Yeah.
It's like, that. Like,
so we'll go into it later about the seed oils thing, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, we're naturally going into that anyway. So what do you think? Because a lot of influencers now, I wouldn't call it influencers, actually doctors as well. So if you look at the way, what happened was there's a massive increase in obesity from the 70s up until now. A sharp increase over the last, 50 years, right? That goes along with the increased use of canola oil and seed oils. So people put two and two together and say it's because of the seed oils. So what's your thought about this?
I do think, like, particularly if we look at the research, like canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower, soybean oil, if we compared them to like butter, saturated fats, like, and even olive oil, which is a better type of oil, coconut oil is another great one, and ghee. If we compared them, like, and how to look at their like impact on health, some studies will actually indicate that canola oil has like a beneficial effect on lipids. Like if you literally go on PubMed and type in.
I have before,
yeah. And have you actually struggled to find deleterious, like bad?
Yes,
it's hard to find.
That's why I'm asking you, because actually when you type it in, a lot of smart people
exactly
say seed oils are bad, etc. Well, I mean, first of all, they contain a lot of polyunsaturated fats, so they don't do when we cook them, they oxidize very easily.
Yeah.
It's just that in itself, they burn very easily, and saturated fats don't burn.
Exactly.
It's just in that. And when we're heating up these oils, they do cause issues with our body. However, when you look at the research, you can't find anything.
It's hard, and I think what makes it hard is that they're like literally hiding the research, or there might be, if we look at like all the benefits we see with like olive oil, like you look at, if you type in olive oil, cardiovascular disease, or like inflammation, or glutathione, or vitamin, like
loads of different things.
Heaps of awesome studies, but you can't find that for canola oil. Like you can't find a study that says canola oil can protect against Alzheimer's disease. No, you see that with...
No, you don't see that.
You don't see that.
You don't see deleterious effects.
Exactly.
That's the way to describe it. You don't necessarily see it improves. There's not that many. There are a few, but there's no study to show how deleterious it is.
Exactly, and I'm sure Mike's the same. Like we're going to select foods that have... We'd rather select foods that have associations with better health outcomes, like supporting blood, nitric oxide production. We're going to
certain fruits, whatever.
Yeah, we're going to choose those foods. Why? Because we're about optimal performance.
Yeah.
Whereas the general population doesn't really like.
Well, tastes good basically, and it's convenient and cheap.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is most people. Right?
Yeah,
I think so.
But that's like, yeah, I think if we're looking at like the impact on hormonal parameters, like how that affects like testosterone, again, when I work with guys, I'm saying like opt for like butter, ghee, olive oil, coconut oil.
Yeah.
Like these are your
healthy fats that
tallow.
basically you can heat, high heats, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Of course. And I think it's just crazy. We're looking at things like, if you look at, remember the research was before, say 20 years ago, someone would say, Mike's seen this before, processed foods have no effect on your health. Well, I think that's now going down the pan, literally. Pun completely intended, I should do it, but it's a good one. Where if you look at it, Mike, there's loads of these processed foods, and we thought they had no effect on your health. But now we're showing the reason for these deleterious effects again is actually on gut health. So if you look at a guy called, I know he gets a lot of kickback, Dr. Tim Spector.
Yeah.
So Dr. Tim Spector is a doctor. He's one of my lecturers at King's College London, and he's one of the forefronts on gut health. And whether people give him a lot of kickback, he genuinely, I can see a person, you're the same with him, he means well. Like he actually genuinely tries to do his best. And what we found is that these processed foods, the more processed food someone eats, the more serious side effects they're going to have. And a lot of these things like carrageenan, these fillers, basically emulsifiers in food, cause really serious problems with gut health. Yep,
no, definitely. I mean, if we look at the research on how they affect like something really important, which is like intestinal permeability, a lot of these autoimmune diseases can be actually traced back to that. And so like anything that can help to seal or heal the tight junctions in the gut is going to have a favorable effect on general health and metabolism and, and also looking at foods that specifically promote the growth of these, benefit, and short chain fatty acids. So
what would be the foods or supplements you'd use for optimal gut health? If you're going to have a client come to you, what would be the things you say to someone that basically wants to improve their gut health? If you're going to, I know you only have an hour, but I mean, what would you do? Say, what the sort of step-by-step process you would do?
I'd say I'll mention one supplement that seems to be working really well, and I've prescribed it like many times before, and it has minimal like adverse side effects. Most people, when they think of fiber supplements, they immediately go to like psyllium husk. But there's one in particular that I like, which is like it mixes fully in water. So if you put a teaspoon of this PHGG, it's partially hydrolyzed guar gum.
Wow.
Yeah, if you mix this in water, you can fully mix it and drink it, and you won't even know that you've even had 5 grams of fiber. So like a little trick that I've sort of implemented is like add that fiber to like white rice. So if you're making like a mince, let's say just ground beef, white rice, and if you want to add a bit of fiber, obviously you can select other veggies like carrots or
fruits.
Fruits. Is add like a teaspoon of this PHGG over the white rice. Now all of a sudden you've got like a
full meal.
Exactly, and also you've lowered the GI of the white rice, so you've now turned that high GI carbohydrate into like a medium to low GI because you've added fiber.
I love that because something I talk about a lot of our clients, and Mike probably has the same thing. People see my Instagram, I'm eating white rice all the time, and they say, the reason I'm eating rice literally is an energy source. It's a hypoallergenic energy source.
Yeah.
It's very, very easy to digest. There's no gluten, etc. in there. The fibre, or saying it's high GI, doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, you're not having white rice by itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you eat other foods, you eat protein with it, or have some veg or fruit with it. The fruit, the fibre in the fruits, Lucas, acts as the fibre you would have on brown rice.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're basically
without the heavy metals.
Yeah, we're going to that actually. Another, we've got to be here for it all day. But the reason why I have white rice is because it doesn't contain all the heavy metals such as arsenic, etc. Funny enough, it still does have quite a few. It actually isn't the best white rice. But however, you soak it, you go for an organic white rice, etc. But brown rice is not good. It's no bueno in terms of loads of heavy metals and stuff like that.
Yeah. If we look at the research as well, that PHGG, they did research on IBS-C and IBS-D, so both constipation and diarrhea.
Got it, yeah.
It actually normalizes like stools, like poops.
Whatever way you are, right? Okay.
Exactly. It literally normalizes stools. So in both conditions, you can prescribe that without worrying about it like either causing constipation or diarrhea. Whereas with psyllium husks, it might go either direction.
A lot of people have issues with it. But the thing about the fibre thing, and people don't realise when you look at foods high in fibre, you think of like, what's the word, bulk, right? But actually, black coffee is a great source of fibre, right? So you look at a sort of liquid that's thin, you go, well, isn't that fibre? It's a similar sort of thing as the fibre you're talking about. It does contain a lot of fibre.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like thick muck to be fibre.
Exactly.
Like fibre. The testosterone, because we said about the people becoming more obese over the last 50 years.
The correlation with
and it correlates exactly with the lowering testosterone. What do you think has caused the increase or decrease in people's testosterone or men's testosterone in the last 50 years, the massive increase in people with low testosterone?
Well, when you look at the research, a lot of it's pointing towards like just sedentary lifestyles and being obese. Like carrying excess body weight is going to be driving up inflammation and also increasing the conversion of testosterone into estrogen because it upregulates aromatase. So we got like sedentary behavior, just really shitty lifestyles, like selecting, poor quality foods. The fact that our food is void of many micronutrients now. So like we're seeing tons of like B vitamin deficiencies. We're seeing zinc deficiency, magnesium, boron deficiency. And a lot of these minerals actually play a role in facilitating not specifically testosterone production, but also helping the other hormones like keeping prolactin low, keeping thyroid high, modulating cortisol, modulating progesterone, modulating DHEA.
Everything.
So communication,
Exactly. So if we look at the different like communication channels, obviously testosterone's in the spotlight, but then what about like the other protective hormones like DHEA, pregnenolone? What about DHT, which is also a beneficial hormone, which spikes following weight training. It spikes following sprint training. Like, why does it spike? It must be a protective.
It was protective, right? Exercise, we know now, is protective for everything, like building enough muscle tissue. And the biggest one you said there, if you just look at that in isolation, people being obese, the fatter you are, the more adipose tissue you have, the more aromatase enzyme you have. The more aromatase enzyme you have, the more of testosterone is converted to estrogen, which means you have less testosterone.
Yeah.
Right, that's simple. And that's, if you just look at that in its isolation, that's going to be a lot of the reason. The increase in obesity, then we go down that rabbit hole. The increase in obesity has actually been in line with increase in processed foods, increase in seed oils. You remove the seed oils part, but just in general, eating more processed food. If you're eating more processed food, they fill you up less. Therefore, you're going to eat more food. Try and fill someone up. The biggest hack to getting someone lean, right, and you talk about this to your clients, I'm sure as well, and you the same. Eat real food. They go, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just calories in, calories out. Yeah, you're right. To lose weight, you do need to eat less calories than you're burning. However, eating high quality food like protein, fruits, veg, etc., is going to be pretty hard to overeat red meat and chicken breast.
Exactly. And the other reason for that is because a lot of these compounds actually stimulate GLP-1 secretion in the gut.
Which everyone loves now, right?
Exactly. That's the hot topic. It's like GLP-1, it suppresses appetite. You can't really stimulate GLP-1 in the same way with like these processed foods because they actually like trick the body into not releasing this GLP-1. If we look at different foods that stimulate GLP-1, it's literally what you said, whole foods. Like
interesting. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, like avocados is a really potent stimulator of GLP-1. A lot of the berries, they modulate the microbiome to stimulate GLP-1. And even a lot of herbal supplements that I've spoken about for years actually indirectly increase GLP-1.
GLP-1 being popular because of
Semaglutide,
semaglutide,
Ozempic.
right, of course, Ozempic.
Yeah.
So you can naturally do that with these foods.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, and people saying that, I joke about it, but it's true, people saying, oh, I can't lose weight, I'm eating nothing. Well, then if you're eating nothing, why do you think taking Ozempic would work? Yeah, you clearly know you're overeating, right? Which is fine, but the point is, don't lie and say that you're not overeating, then you have to take a drug that stops you eating as much.
Yeah, exactly. So if we look at the whole picture of like testosterone, we're seeing a massive decline. The quote that I say is like, "You're not the man your grandfather was." That's the sort of phrase that I use, and it's just true, man. You look at like most men these days.
They look different. They actually look different.
Well, the what I call is like the anti-testosterone starter pack, which is like.
Tell me what that is.
Link in bio.
Link in bio.
So wakes up in the morning, vapes. Number 2 is has like a croissant or just a coffee for breakfast.
Does the coffee have milk in?
It has milk.
And they've snoozed.
Snooze. I woke up late as well.
Wears like super tight underwear, like polyester. So
underwear.
killing testosterone. Sits at a desk all day and like obviously sitting with the laptop close to the testes, which causes like EMF, static charge, heats the testes. Stays inside all day under fluorescent lights. Number 2 is they probably like binge on social media, which plummets dopamine. Like these are different factors that lead to, and then also alcohol.
Yeah, and alcohol. We normalise alcohol. Yeah.
We were discussing before, weren't we, about the level or the what are considered healthy levels of testosterone.
I was actually thinking, ADHD, I was thinking of what I was going to say, but I didn't want to say what I was talking. Yeah, so Mike, say about the testosterone, the range.
The reference range, yeah. So specifically, if you look at the reference range has decreased because the global average has dropped dramatically.
Wow.
So like back in the day, we would see a number of men actually walking around the streets with like 1,100, 1,200 nanograms per deciliter total testosterone. And these are like those just carrying massive, carrying shit around.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Just being macho, like very mission oriented, like very focused.
Do you think that's an interesting thing? Because you said it. What I think does that having purpose. I'm sure there's no studies that say it, but having purpose. Do you think that increases your testosterone?
I think like winning at your purpose would, or like just absolutely killing it in your job would. I feel like if you're really average at your job, and you're not, just like winning or doing really well, that can have the opposite effect. I think if you're in an environment where your boss is like yelling at you all day and you just feel like you're not performing, like you'll probably have a negative effect on testosterone as well.
Yeah, it's crazy about the ranges though, isn't it? Because, I'm sure you've had clients go to you and same we have clients come in, they do their blood work, say, oh, my testosterone mid-range is healthy. I'm like, no, that's not actually healthy at all. And they'll have man boobs and like a jaw that inverts into their face and they have a BLM flag at the house. But the thing is, they would exactly, and but you know what I mean, literally. So what I'm saying is they literally know their testosterone is low. That's why they're coming to you, right? They know themselves, right?
Well, the thing is, what the sort of clients that I see are like a lot of the guys that say, I've been to my doctor and my doctor says my testosterone levels are completely normal. When I look at them and I look at the free testosterone portion, it's actually usually on the lower end of the reference range.
People's free testosterone nowadays is lower. Why does free testosterone matter so much when most people care about total testosterone?
Yeah, so obviously there's 2 types of testosterone that's measured on a blood test, free testosterone and total testosterone. We have another hormone that's also measured, which is SHBG, so sex hormone binding globulin. In some cases, guys can have very high total testosterone, but their SHBG is through the roof. And this could be due to fatty liver disease, which has been undiagnosed, or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Number 2 could be certain nutrient deficiencies can affect SHBG. And number 3 is actually compromised thyroid function. So if we're looking at how do we optimize free testosterone, we actually need to make sure we drop that or decrease that SHBG. And there are many different factors that can influence that, but if we're looking at the actual impact of free testosterone, it's that free testosterone portion that guys subjectively can feel. It's like the biologically active form, which means it's the form that hovers around in the blood that actually binds to the androgen receptors and elicits all of the beneficial effects that we want, which is muscle growth, fat loss, strength, motivation, energy, just general feeling like a alpha male.
Well-being, right?
Yeah.
Because the SHBG, quite often I've seen people's blood work's quite high. People that have high testosterone, in brackets, total testosterone, the actual free testosterone is quite low.
Yeah.
What's the most common thing that cause, and how would you lower SHBG?
So what I've seen quite a lot of is guys that go on a very low carbohydrate diet. So if they just like go on a really, really, really strict like ketogenic or carnivore diet, and they just completely eliminate all carbohydrates, including fruit, rice, and bread, and all that sort of stuff, we actually see their SHBG go up. So this is why, because one of the most potent hormones that actually lowers SHBG is insulin.
Okay.
So obviously, you can't really stimulate enough insulin through just protein and fats. You actually need the carbohydrates to bring that insulin up and drop that SHBG.
I really didn't know that. Okay, it's fascinating.
Another way that I can see that somebody's like on TRT is by looking at SHBG as well. So like guys that are on TRT, what happens is their SHBG plummets. It just drops down.
Interesting. So drop. So if someone is taking exogenous testosterone, injecting or taking a patch, their SHBG will
Drops.
So that actually would mean they have an even higher testosterone than the amount they're taking.
The levels are unmatched to what a natty could ever achieve. Like,
fascinating.
Forget about like ever compete.
Yeah. So someone would have low testosterone, and they're taking TRT. They'll feel completely different then.
Of course.
That's what I do. But it's like crazy different to me.
It's subjective. I mean, I've seen guys that have like either decided to go on TRT or they're wanting to come off to bring back fertility. This can have a dramatic effect on mood. The biggest one is like the mental health. Mental health side of things is like probably the most prominent effect. And what a lot of guys don't realize is that the mental health benefits of testosterone can also come from its metabolites. So number one being estrogen, so estradiol, and number two being DHT. Both of these hormones are actually, like, they influence neurochemistry very dramatically. So if you specifically give a guy testosterone, let's say we obviously 250 milligrams a week of testosterone, and you specifically block the aromatase enzyme, like really hardcore with like letrozole or anastrozole,
strong. Yeah.
they're not going to feel good.
I know people have done that. They feel awful.
Yeah, like joints,
joints are angry, etc. So actually, you need a certain amount of estrogen, etc., downstream from that as well.
Yeah.
But if you're taking testosterone technically by itself, this is the issue. Actually, something you probably talk about. Someone takes TRT, something to watch out for. If someone is very overweight and takes TRT, you're not going to say a lot of it converts to estrogen. Then they do have estrogenic side effects because a lot of the testosterone converted to estrogen. Funny enough, they actually may have not the high testosterone at the end because it converting all to estrogen, right?
Yeah, they're hyper aromatizing test into estrogen, and they're not going to see the beneficial effects of testosterone. Yeah.
Is that where things like what's that called?
Gynecomastia.
Is that where that kind of stuff comes from?
Yeah, so Lucas will tell you as well. But basically, what it is someone that has it. Quite often, people think it's just something steroids. Quite often, people in their teenage years, from smoking cannabis, or whatever, maybe have high estrogen, and what happens? You create male breast tissue.
Right.
So I did actually a 20-minute YouTube video talking about.
I've seen this. Yeah.
The main causes of gynecomastia, and estrogen is obviously one of them, but also like a sluggish liver. Right. So the liver actually helps to detoxify hormones, and if a guy has really compromised liver function from a young age, could even be from like mercury toxicity. So mercury actually upregulates the aromatase enzyme. A lot of guys don't know this, but mercury is estrogenic in men, so it actually has like estrogen mimicking effects.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy. But if you look at like some of the leading causes of gyno, obviously another hormone is prolactin. So obviously,
of course.
Yeah. So the prolactin is mediated by dopamine, and so if a guy has low dopamine, then that actually increases prolactin, and so that prolactin can also stimulate breast milk production in men as well.
Wow.
Then it also stops erections, doesn't it, as well?
So it gives you that anabolic, the anabolic milk.
Yeah, anabolic milk. Funny enough, I was just going to go to milk Mike and go back. That sounds even worse. That sounds awful.
We've got a segment for that.
That's awful in many different ways. Funny enough, so the next thing I'm actually going to ask you was about people wanting to take TRT. I'm sure you're the same, where you would say, do everything possible without taking TRT first. Then, if the worst comes to the worst, then take it. What would be the things? You had what was the starter pack? What did you say?
The anti-testosterone.
The anti-testosterone starter
Avoid
pack.
all that stuff.
Yeah. So, what would be the testosterone starter pack? The
Testosterone starter pack is, so this is literally what I built out, is trtfree.com. So I built out like specifically for guys.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so trtfree.com, if anyone wants to check that out.
A lot of people
Yes.
right. I'm thinking right now in my mind.
So that's like everything a guy can do within his favor to maximize testosterone production naturally. So that's like from a lifestyle perspective, nutrition, like the novel biohacks, like icing the testes, icing your balls, which is what I'm pretty well known for.
I didn't know you for that. Now I do know that.
So there's you've heard like knees over toes guy?
Yeah, of course.
They call me ice over balls guy.
I'll go with the other nickname, but better. Yeah.
That is now your handle on the podcast.
We actually brought an ice pack in for Lucas. He's actually icing them right now as we speak. If you're on Spotify, just to let you guys know.
Yeah. And then we've also got like different supplements. So then you've got like a lot of the different supplements that I've sort of mentioned. I would say I've popularized a particular Chinese medicine called Cistanch.
I've seen the videos on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So now heaps of companies have released Cistanch, but I would say like probably like a nice addition to like being on TRT, or for a guy looking to like just increase their dopamine levels naturally is going to be this new supplement that I'm going to be dropping, which is a particular bark from Brazil, and that's called catuaba. So that's going to fill the void for a lot of guys, which is like they're looking for something that boosts motivation, boosts energy, and increase general like willpower and stuff like that.
What's the mechanism for this supplement?
Yep. So this is like I was on the hunt for like compounds that could naturally increase dopamine. You got things like L-tyrosine, which works really great. Mm-hmm. Phenylalanine is another one. L-dopa, which is pretty popular. But this one here, catuaba, is a particular bark from Brazil that has dopamine reuptake inhibitory properties. So it's a DRI, the opposite of an SSRI.
I think, so basically what it does is it stops, when you have a synapse, right, or synapse, however you pronounce it, basically stops the reuptake in the presynaptic.
Yeah, right? Meaning that it keeps dopamine active in the brain for longer. Now, in addition to that, what I've sort of researched and discovered through years of like personal use and also prescribing it to clients is that what's interesting is like with caffeine, for example, when you have coffee, over time you build something called tolerance, right? So it means that you need to keep on titrating the dosage up to get the same effect. With catuaba, what's unique about it is that it actually possesses reverse tolerance.
Very unusual.
Which means that the more you use it, the stronger it actually becomes. So like the person who actually takes it, dose number 1, they'll feel it, but on day 7, the effects start to really heighten, and the common effects that people experience is they feel like just like more motivated. They feel like they're more chatty, they're more social, they're more outgoing. So
trying to limit me with that.
Keep it away from Jay's. So that's going to be part of the new supplement.
Your supplement range, I was talking to you earlier about it as well. So what's the supplement range called?
Yeah, so for these people wanting to know, it's called In Before.
And you spell it, make sure people know how to spell it.
So it's INB4, so inbeforesups.com. And that's going to be like just game-changing, new and novel ingredients in the supplement space. So like instead of just bringing out another ginseng or another rhodiola or another like ashwagandha, like what I'm releasing here are like cutting-edge, really unique formulations that no one else has really heard of. Because I
say because Lucas was chatting in the car on the way here, but I know this not just because you said this. I know that Lucas is obsessed with this kind of stuff, right? So he wants the best for himself. And that's the best when you actually have a product that someone used themselves. Whatever it might be, a car, whatever it can be, any product, but the owner is obsessed with it. They're doing it purely for selfish reasons. That's what I like.
Yeah.
So you want to use it yourself. Not anything I know that you've researched and gone down that rabbit hole, I know it's going to be good quality because you want to make sure it's the best.
And also as part of that is like we tested like 6 different batches of Catawba bark to find the right one and to find the one that actually met the quality control. So specifically with a lot of herbal medicines that you see on Amazon, like a lot of them are fake.
Crazy.
A lot.
NMN is one of the really bad ones.
Hugely faked. And the consumer won't know. Consumer won't really...
How can they know?
They won't really know. But with Catawba, we were like, we have to find a legitimate source. And we went through different batches. We tested so many different types. And if you go on, like if you literally search online and you look up like Catawba, like feedback and reviews, for people who have found legitimate Catawba, like for those early adopters who actually in the Western world, who actually get their hands on this stuff, everyone loves it, man. Like
Wow.
there is not a negative. It's very rare to find someone who doesn't like Catawba.
Because other supplements you do find people, 90% of people love it, and then the one person will be like, it makes me beat my wife. So they blame on the Catawba.
Leave that one.
I'd add that with actually the JP's fish oils. I started having that. Yes, it's the fish oil supplement, not my personality. But usually is the supplement people dislike, even though everyone likes it. With supplementation, we actually wanted to ask you, purely for selfish reasons, as you're an authority in this space. Actually, genuinely someone I would ask questions to out of interest. And if I was going to ask about supplement, I'd ask you first. I know a lot of people in the fitness space, but you're the person I'd ask. What would be the supplements that you'd say are essential? Because obviously there's very few supplements that are essential, but what should everyone be taking? If we would say give you 5.
Yep. I'd say number 1, which pretty much covers a lot of bases, would be a high quality magnesium. The reason I say that is because like it's very difficult to acquire like
It is, yeah.
you know, it's like very difficult to actually hit the RDI for magnesium. Plus, if you're training a shitload, like you're just going to be sweating it all out. So good quality magnesium, that can be like magnesium L-threonate or magnesium glycinate, or even magnesium taurate, which is magnesium and taurine bound together.
Okay.
That one there is really effective for just like muscle recovery, reducing DOMs and that sort of stuff. There's also research suggesting that magnesium can lower SHBG as well. So high doses of magnesium can actually suppress that SHBG and increase free testosterone. So you got magnesium. Fish oil, omega-3s can benefit a lot of individuals if they're not consuming a significant amount of fish in their diet or seafood. And the reason for this is because omega-3s, generally speaking, have a pretty potent like anti-inflammatory effect. And the effect sizes for cardiovascular health are pretty significant, like as a protective factor.
With the fish oil, I mean, I'm sure you've got the same. Get a good quality one that's for your mercury, because if you're trying to eat enough fish that gives you the 2 to 4 grams EPA, DHA, but mercury.
Exactly.
So we were talking about earlier about mercury causing all these other issues, but if you're eating a lot of... I do actually know personally, if eating quite a lot of fish, they actually end up with mercury poisoning. It's not like a crazy thing that doesn't happen. People eat just fish, like bodybuilders, end up with mercury poisoning.
Yeah, definitely with like tuna in particular.
Tuna, big fish basically. We're large fish, accumulate a lot of heavy metals. Right?
Yeah. So I'd say like between those two, there's like 2 pretty powerful and effective ones. Vitamin D is most likely going to benefit a significant portion of the population. The main reason is because most people are like stuck inside. They think they're getting sunlight exposure, like as in they'll go outside for maybe like 10 minutes, but they're like only just their arms are like touching the sun. They might be wearing shorts and they get outside for like 10 minutes, but it's not
enough.
It's not enough. And also the time of day also matters as well. If you're not out in the sun between like 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., like that sort of window.
The UV changes. If you look on your Apple app, or whether it tells you UV index, it actually does. It's frightening how much it drops off. Even in Dubai, between sort of 10 and 2, 10 to 1 even actually, 10:30 to 1, I'd say it's very high. It drops off very dramatically. You'll see people go out there to sunbathe, right, and I think it's very hot. It's hot, but there's actually not that much UV.
Yeah.
You can see that James is quite clear.
Professional.
UV index.
UV maxing.
Yeah, exactly. The veterans, some may say.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you got those 3 key supplements, and then I'd say one that has like, I would say like, it can benefit a significant portion of the population would be taurine. So
okay.
like 3 to 6 grams of taurine. In general, we're seeing protective effects on the liver, helps kidney health,
Wow.
protects the heart, balances electrolytes, has an anti-stress effect, lowers cortisol, is neuroprotective. I could go on and on about taurine as well. So
Wow.
that's
And how would you take that? What would be the best way?
you can.
Dosage. I mean,
How,
sort of time of day, etc.
so people that are sensitive to the sedating, it can have a little bit of a sedative effect. So some people like to use it before bed. If people want to use it for like its anti-stress properties, you can use it in the morning with your coffee, and there's no issues with that.
But it's used in supplements and stimulants as well, right?
In Red Bull,
Yeah, of course. We're in Red Bull. It
So
contains
because I've heard that taurine is often preferable to caffeine, right?
well,
Like-
the reason why they put taurine in Red Bull is because it actually balances out the negative effects of
Jitters.
caffeine. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so similar to L-theanine in that regard.
Interesting, because magnesium, fish oils, and vitamin D, the one everyone says are in the know. But adding taurine in that's pretty cool, actually. Definitely give that a go.
Yeah, and then I'd say another one that's highly beneficial is some sort of liver protective supplement. So this is like, even if you're a guy that's enhanced versus, complete natty, I think most people can benefit from some sort of liver support. And the one that I really like is Tutka.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, so this one here in particular, anywhere from like 250 milligrams all the way up to 1800 milligrams per day is safe and effective for reducing liver inflammation. It helps to regenerate liver cells. It even has an anti-inflammatory effect. It has neuroprotective qualities, and the body naturally produces it. So it's like actually a bile acid that the body produces. And yeah, I've seen just countless reports of improvements in stool quality. It actually heals tight junctions in the gut as well.
The gut as well.
So it helps heal, support that leaky gut.
That's incredible. Okay, like Tutka. Actually, I was taking it for a while and actually stopped taking it, so I added it back in again.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the one sort of food, like there's one particular like food group that most people miss out on, and it's actually those bitter foods. So like they miss out on those like really bitter foods. So like that's a food group that we're actually designed to consume them because there's bitter taste receptors in the back of the tongue. So I've done a few experiments where I put highly bitter herbs in water, and I've seen what happens if you just put it in your mouth, you swish it around, but then spit it out, what effect that can have on digestion. And even just doing that simple thing, like you put the water in the mouth, swirl it around, it's activating the bitter receptors on the back of your tongue. That can actually improve stomach acid production and help with like protein digestion as well.
What about, actually for myself, what about HCl supplementation before food? The HCl, Charles Poliquin used to love that, having HCl before you ate food. What do you think of that?
Yeah. So I think if we're having like a massive meal with a shitload of protein, like more than let's say 50 to 70 grams of protein, this is where like betaine, HCl, these you're basically supplementing your body with what your body would be creating, but you're giving your body an extra boost to actually break down that protein. Now, as a naturopath, like we used to study, all we ever looked at was like gut health, and there are other ways to actually stimulate that stomach acid production naturally, and it actually goes back to these bitter foods. So if you have like cabbage or rocket, arugula, these are bitter foods that can stimulate that. And then also like what I said before, Tutka being a digestive
Aid.
They can all help that as well.
So what's your sleep routine then? Because I've heard you talk about using blue light blockers before that was fashionable.
Yeah.
I actually was impressed to hear that you used a lot of this kind of supplementation, a lot of these techniques through your studying, which I know when I was studying, I had no idea about this kind of stuff at all. It was only afterwards. So how did you become so knowledgeable on it at an early age? And then where did you take it, particularly with your sleep?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of the obsession, it's just complete obsession with just experimentation. A lot of it came back to just trying to perform really well playing soccer. So I used to play like professional soccer, went overseas, represented Melbourne, in Budapest, in Hungary. So I was really obsessed with like looking at different things that could improve my like energy, recovery, reaction time. I was at one stage I was like hyper obsessed with like how can I increase my sprinting performance and like just buffer lactic acid, and I was like experimenting with like shitloads of beta alanine and bicarbonate and all these sort of things, just to like buffer that lactic acid response. And I was on like my favorite website, which is ergolog.com, all day, every day, and just researching. But if we go back to like the sleep experimentation, so obviously I was a really early adopter of wearing those blue light blocking glasses.
I should remember you with that actually.
I think I was like, even before, like if people saw, like if you scroll back and look at how hilariously embarrassing my old content is, when I was like, I had like my crazy hairstyle.
I remember actually, early adopter of you, I remember a while ago.
So I'd work, what I'd do is like, I'd be in my mum and dad's garage. So that's my office. It was like the garage. It's, starting there. So worked in the garage. I had my blue light blocking glasses on. I had no lights on at all in the garage. So it was dark, pitch black, on my treadmill, walking whilst I was typing.
Oh, it's so ill.
Wow.
Just picture this, and I'm wearing blue light blocker glasses. I have the garage door open as well. So people walking across.
Ladies forming orderly queue.
I was wondering why I never had any dates back then.
I wonder why.
What age was this?
Yeah, this would have been
Last week.
3 years ago, I'd say. Yeah, 3 years ago. So I was like, researching different. My girlfriend's smoking over there.
Don't worry, he's not going anywhere. No one's taking him. Don't worry.
That's what sealed the deal.
So with the obviously wearing the blue light blocking glasses, using mouth tape is another one, just to force that nasal breathing, which is how you should be breathing. Playing around with different like fruits as well. So like
I saw just at the kiwi.
Yeah, the kiwi fruit. There's a kiwi fruit study where they took 2 kiwi fruits about 60 to 90 minutes before bedtime, actually increased sleep duration and also sleep quality. So that's a quick little simple biohack. And then another one.
Having 2 kiwis.
Yeah, 2 kiwi fruit. You're going to get a bit of vitamin C in there. You're going to get the fiber. There's probably some other benefits that we haven't even studied yet. And then also BPC 157. So BPC, the peptide. That was the only supplement that I've ever used that actually increased my deep sleep above 3 hours.
Oh, what BBC did that?
It was insane.
Wow. Okay.
But
yeah,
just all I can say is brace yourself for my, like when I come out with a sleep supplement, like a sleep stack as part of In Before, like it's just going to be, I've got all these incredible formulas on a spreadsheet. It's like my ultimate IP.
We're on the priority list, right?
I'll be waiting.
We'll send them out. Order. We have to cross the borders of the Dubai Petrol. We'll get there though. We'll get there.
Wow, that's genuinely very exciting.
Yeah,
because people, the reason why we're actually asking earlier what we should talk about the last part of the podcast, people are obsessed with sauna, cold plunge. There's nothing wrong with doing them. They do they have benefits, etc. But if you removed all the supplements, if you just slept properly, would outweigh all of them.
Oh man!
Yeah, just sleeping properly would outweigh absolutely everything.
All of them.
That's the elixir.
It trumps all biohacks,
right,
really. So it's like, if we're looking at improving health, it has to be sleep, number one. Like obviously, you'd be working with clients where it's like they come to you, James, I want to drop body fat and increase muscle. Well, obviously, if they're sleeping like shit, there's no way.
Well, they don't. Everyone has this, right? Your 2 things with sleep would be your satiety can be all over the place, so you crave more sugar, but also as well your perception of stress. So what will happen is someone that's stressed from not sleeping enough, you know what it's like when you had very little sleep, you get very stressed and anxious, and what happens is you end up binging because you're so stressed.
Oh yeah.
That's a massive thing for people, emotionally, because you're so stressed from lack of sleep.
Yeah, well you lose that insulin sensitivity following like sleep deprivation. Yeah. So it's just going to be highly influential and impactful for all sorts of parameters of health. But just going back to the other biohacks, I'd say another one that's been a game changer, and it's probably hard to do here in Dubai because it's always hot, but it's actually using a weighted blanket. Okay. So sleeping with a weighted blanket. Yeah. I joke about it.
That sounds so rapey. I'm not going to say that. Mike, you're going to put your weighted blanket on you next time you sleep.
My definition of that is a bit different.
was going to say it, I just tried to be sensible. I was like, what? So how's that? So why does it work having something weighted?
Oh, it just suffocates me to sleep.
Me. God.
You won't wake up.
Yeah, you don't wake
It's the
up.
best sleep of your life. They say you spend a third of your life sleeping.
Yeah.
I spend three
Oh,
thirds.
okay.
3/3, yeah.
Because about the cold run, if I go to bed about wanting to lower temperature. Because I'm actually going to buy for my new house. I think it's 8.
Yeah.
Actually, tell you
I've
about that.
got the 8 sleep. Yeah.
You
as
do,
well.
yeah, about
Yeah.
that. So explain about the weighted blanket and that. So
So the combination, all right, think about it this. You're dropping your core body temperature by using the 8 sleep mattress, which is like, you need to be cooler. You need to sleep cooler. But then you've got the actual, like the heaviness on your body from the weighted blanket. So you're literally, you got the best of both worlds. You're cold, but then you feel like you're being like, because your body releases more oxytocin when you have the weight.
Is that why you need a blanket when you try and sleep without a blanket, even if it's a warm room? It feels horrible.
Yeah.
So on top, yeah.
It's like that snug feeling.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
actually releases oxytocin. And
Okay.
Why do you reckon our brain's wired that way? Because
I don't know. It's a good point. I don't know. Like from a tribal perspective, how does that make sense?
Must be safety.
Safety.
Must be safety.
Yeah.
Must be safety. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
The 8 sleep, yeah, something I'm actually going to buy for my new house, and it basically is a mattress that cools you down, lowers the
Temperature
temperature.
controlled, is it?
Yeah, and then the temperature. So I've never used one before. How do you find the comfort of it as well?
Yeah, it's so it's water regulated, and you pretty much just fill up this you fill up the actual machine once every 2 months, and all it does, you set the setting, and you can split the beds, by the way. So if you're more of a hot sleeper, you can drop the temperature.
Well,
down.
women. Funny you said that because generally women get cold
Yeah.
in bed, right?
Yeah, so you can switch half the bed to actually warm, the other half to.
So I'm not. What about you sleeping with a man? You're just not going to say.
Is this
I've got
gay or
so,
not?
Yeah,
I've got so many jokes going around my head.
Sleeping with a guy, gay or
Trying
not
to stay
gay.
on topic.
So talking about Paul Saladino, who's a doctor in the US, everyone knows, says about broccoli being bullshit or vegetables being bullshit. What are your thoughts about that? We spoke about it earlier when we were going to train together. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I definitely think a lot of these veggies, they have problematic constituents and compounds. So for example,
Cruciferous sort of vegetables.
yeah, exactly. So you got things that are so they can goitrogens, so they block iodine uptake. You've got things that actually irritate the gut. There's a really big thing is a lot of these veggies are actually very difficult to digest. And you were sort of speaking about that the other day, where it's they can actually cause irritation on the gut lining. They can, what they do is when they irritate the gut, they can actually increase serotonin. Now that might be a little bit confusing because you're like, how? I thought serotonin's a good thing.
Good, yeah.
But it's a little bit confusing if you have excess serotonin that can, throw off your mood and make you less motivated and
Interesting.
yeah. So that's why, obviously, I'd much rather push the dopamine pathway to increase motivation and willpower and stuff like that. But I think they're just very overrated. I think a lot of vegetables are highly overrated. If we're looking at trying to get the benefits of fiber, you can get it from fruit.
So we said without the
anti-nutrients. Number 2 is you can get a lot of the polyphenols from fruit as well.
Oh, exactly.
So it's you can get all these beneficial flavonoids like hesperidin, resveratrol, pterostilbene, all these weird compounds. I'm the guy who researches them.
Yeah, of course, they're from herbs and certain herbs
Yeah.
and fruits. And the fibre thing's crazy. I always say that. How do you get fibre? I get it from fruit. And then if you look at they say whatever your gut feeling is, take a look at what's in liver, eggs, red meat.
Yeah.
Look at the amount of micronutrients. The liver has way more micronutrients than green veg. And people they look at that, they get confused, but it throws them off. They're like, well, there you go then.
Yeah.
How are you getting your micronutrients? Look at liver. They're like, oh.
Even a small amount of liver would
Half an ounce a
outperform
day.
a half a kilogram of broccoli.
Not even comparable.
Yeah.
Not even comparable without the deleterious effects. And I found with broccoli and a lot of our clients, same sort of thing, is when they remove those and get enough fibre from plenty of multicoloured, I am a believer of having lots of multicoloured foods. You get that from certain herbs and fruits.
Well, I'll tell you the most confusing aspect for the general public, Google. Watch what happens if you search on Google vitamin K content of broccoli. You'll see that on Google, it will literally say it's 500%. It's super high. But if anyone's actually switched on and smart enough to know that it's not the active form of vitamin K,
Right, yeah.
you're not going to get... So that's why liver, if you compare it gram for gram, just be careful, like, just for people listening in, like, be careful with Google, because you'll be like, all right, how much vitamin A is in kale? A shitload of vitamin A, but it's in the preformed version, whereas with liver, it's already in the active form.
More bioavailable.
More bioavailable.
Same with vitamin A as well.
Yeah. So and another thing, quick fact is, like, a lot of the fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, K2, these are all the fat soluble vitamins. All of them inhibit aromatase. So all of them actually have aromatase inhibiting properties as well, which is pretty cool.
The best multivitamin, and people ask me about multivitamin, because actually people were surprised when you said earlier, which is what I would say wasn't a multivitamin. It's actually, if you're having, I would say there's half an ounce of liver, 2 to 3 whole eggs a day, a good amount of red meats, and a mixture of fruits, you have enough.
I can't remember the last time I prescribed a multivitamin. It would have been when I was working in my dad's pharmacy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, take what's it called? Solgar multivitamin.
Yeah.
Of course.
So it's been a long time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Thanks, guys. No, it's been a pleasure.
How do people contact you?
So if they want to get in touch personally, they can shoot me an email, lucas@boostyourbiology.com.
And Instagram?
ergogenic_health.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. It's a pleasure.
Brilliant. Cheers.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That was mad.
Oh, photos.
Thank you so much.